Ilia Topuria is one of the most exciting champions currently in the UFC. But since knocking out Alexander Volkanovski, he's been acting very strange and seeming very evasive when it comes to setting his sights on a next opponent and making strange demands for who his next opponent will be. But in this video, we'll be dissecting the dangerous style of Ilia Topuria, what makes him such a good fighter. Is he more similar to Canelo than you might think? And why is he an extremely big problem for everyone in the UFC, including Dana White? What makes Topuria so dangerous? He's extremely efficient in every single movement he does. This is due to his almost perfect technique in every single discipline, whether that's striking or grappling, which makes him extremely difficult to solve as a puzzle in the octagon, as his boxing is already levels above the rest of the fighters at 145 pounds and maybe even in the UFC in general, with the added bonus of absolute one-shot KO power in both hands. The biggest kryptonite or the weakness in Topuria's game, I'd say, is his kicking game or his lower body game, especially in striking, as he doesn't utilise dynamic kicks as much as he would just normal calf kicks like most fighters do, but he isn't someone who utilises his kicks in his offence, which means he likes to fight up close with his hands. And the way to take advantage of this for me would be to get a fighter who is a very, very good Muay Thai stand-up fighter with phenomenal defensive grappling and be able to defend his onslaughts with the grappling and his onslaughts with the punches, and then slicing him up with knees and elbows when he bursts into the void. But this is a lot easier said than done, and it would have to be a world-level Muay Thai or kickboxer that would be able to pull something like this off against such an elite fighter in MMA. Because a lot of people think that in MMA it's great to be well-rounded and quite good and everything, but what Topuria has in variety different to other MMA fighters is that he's elite in multiple disciplines, which is what being an MMA fighter should really be all about, not just being quite good in everything, because as soon as you come up against a specialist who is also as good as you in the other things, you've got no chance, and that's the thing that makes Topuria so good. Topuria's boxing skill is something that is evident when you watch him in the octagon. His slick head movement, his sharp footwork, and ferocious hands are reminiscent of that of a world champion boxer who likes to fight in the pocket like Canelo Alvarez. And I'm not saying that his actual boxing skill is on a level of someone like Canelo. I'm saying in comparison to the rest of the MMA fighters, that's what he is like. Canelo is to the rest of his division, is that his boxing is on a completely different level, especially in the pocket with moving his head and countering. It's just on a completely different level, and that Mexican style, which Canelo operates on, is the same thing that Topuria uses, and Topuria also has the power and the strength to back it up, which is why I think he's very similar to Canelo, is that Canelo isn't just a fighter who's known for his heart or known for his technical ability. He's known for all of these things put together, and that's what makes him so good. And then you add the power, and it just makes a very, very dangerous fighter, whether it's in MMA or in boxing. When you are elite in multiple disciplines, you can get extremely comfortable in your preferred art, as you have no fear of the other arts being imposed on you, as you know you can hold your own anyway. This allows Topuria to have a very strong boxing stance and box very freely, as he is not fearing of being taken down. There is no fear in Topuria's brain about the grappling department. This allows him to burst into the void with powerful strikes and keeping his head moving off the center line, because he's not worried about getting taken down, because he's up close, he can't be kicked, and the only thing that could happen to him is that he could get kneed on the way in, but the way he's setting up his strikes is so that he doesn't get kneed on the way in. So he isn't fearing when he's striking. He knows that he's basically forcing his opponent to strike with him the way he wants, and you just have no chance when you're dealing with a fighter like Topuria, who has such quick, fast and powerful hands and can box like the way he can. Now, the more alarming part of Ilia Topuria, if you're the UFC, is his personality and demands outside the octagon. He has a very unique and strong personality, And he's also very reluctant to bend the knee to the organisation now that he's in a position of leverage, which he obviously believes he'll hold on to for a long period of time. This confidence and stubbornness makes him a problem for the UFC, as he's not this controllable asset like a lot of champions become, where they kind of just fight every single time the UFC wants them to, and that's that. They fight whoever the UFC says, but Topuria is not that guy. And he would rather be a shot caller than be that type of person who bends the knee to the UFC. And this can be a good thing or a bad thing for the fans. It could mean that the fans get the best fights against the best styles, or it could mean that he fights once a year and thinks he's Conor McGregor when he is not on that level yet. But will Ilia Topuria be the next massive star in the UFC? Will he be the next worldwide star in the UFC? Will he be as big as Conor McGregor or Canelo in their respected sports and fashion? I don't think so yet, but with the stardom he has in Spain, it could be possible. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and thank you for watching.